The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the crumbling remains of St. Helena's Church. Its once grand spires now jutted like skeletal fingers against the night, and the wind whispered through the broken stained glass windows, carrying secrets of forgotten sins. The air was thick with the scent of decay, mingling with the faint acrid smell of burnt incense, long since extinguished. 4 paranormal investigators, Ava, Marcus, Jenna, and Ian, stood at the threshold, their flashlights piercing the oppressive darkness. The team had heard whispers of the church's sinister past, tales of dark rituals and vanished congregants, and tonight they sought the truth. "Ready?" Ava asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat resonating with a mixture of excitement and dread. Marcus, the group's tech expert, adjusted his night vision camera and nodded. "Let's do this." They stepped inside, the wooden floorboards groaning beneath their weight. The walls were adorned with faded frescoes depicting scenes of paradise, now marred by time and neglect. A cold draft swept through the nave, carrying with it the soft murmurs of unseen voices. "Do you feel that?" Jenna asked, rubbing her arms against the sudden chill. "It's just the wind," Ian replied, though his eyes darted nervously around the shadowed corners. They moved deeper into the church, their footsteps echoing in the vast empty space. As they approached the altar, a sense of unease settled over them. The once sacred space was now defiled, the altar covered in dark stains that looked suspiciously like dried blood. Strange symbols were etched into the stone floor, their meanings lost to time, but undeniably malevolent. Ava's flashlight beam landed on a heavy leather-bound tome resting on the altar. "Look at this," she said, carefully opening the book. The pages were filled with cryptic writings and disturbing illustrations, images of demonic figures and unholy ceremonies. "This is some serious occult stuff," Marcus muttered, scanning the book with his camera. Whatever they were doing here, it wasn't good. Suddenly, a low, guttural growl echoed through the church, freezing them in their tracks. "What was that?" Jenna whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "Probably just an animal," Ian said, though his trembling voice betrayed his uncertainty. But Ava knew better. There was something deeply wrong about this place, something evil that had been awakened by their presence. "We need to document this and get out," she said, snapping photos of the altar and the book. As they turned to leave, the temperature plummeted further, and the oppressive darkness seemed to close in around them. A shadow moved in the periphery of Ava's vision, a figure that was not one of their own. "Did you see that?" she asked, her voice trembling. "See what?" Marcus replied, looking around nervously. Ava's flashlight flickered and died, plunging them into near-total darkness. Panic set in as the growling grew louder, now accompanied by the sound of heavy, dragging footsteps. "We need to go now," Ian shouted, bolting for the door. But the way out was no longer clear. The church seemed to shift and change around them, the walls closing in like a labyrinth. Ava felt a hand, cold and clammy, clamped down on her shoulder, and she spun around to see a grotesque figure looming over her, its eyes glowing with malevolent fire. The demon spoke, its voice a raspy whisper that cut through her very soul. "You have disturbed the sacred rites. Now you shall pay the price." In an instant, the investigators were separated, each trapped in their own personal nightmare. Ava found herself back at the altar, the demonic book opened before her. The pages turned on their own, revealing an incantation that seemed to pulse with dark energy. Desperate, she read the words aloud, hoping to banish the entity. But as she spoke, the ground beneath her began to tremble, and a gaping maw opened, swallowing her whole. She fell into darkness, her screams echoing in the void. Marcus, Jenna, and Ian fared no better. Marcus was caught in a never-ending loop of shadowy figures closing in on him, their whispers driving him to the brink of madness. Jenna faced her own reflection, twisted and malevolent, mocking her every move. Ian was trapped in a forest of hands reaching out from the walls, pulling him into their cold embrace. The next morning, the church stood silent once more, the only evidence of the investigators' presence, a few scattered pieces of equipment, and the leather-bound tome, now closed and undisturbed. The townsfolk whispered of St. Helena's dark past, but none dared to venture near, knowing that the ancient evil within was never truly gone. The legend of the investigators' disappearance grew, a cautionary tale of curiosity leading to doom, and in the dead of night, when the wind howled through the broken windows, some swore they could still hear their screams, mingling with the whispers in the dark.